ya, come on, dance ya. That in my business, you catching fever. Getting serious like empty river. Ain't no stopping by the river. And as we coming, we sweeping, we cutting, we moving all the way. Yeah. We coming, yeah. We coming. As we coming, we sweeping, we coming. And then when we meet up, stick on. We coming. Yeah, you coming, yeah. We coming. We better than a big coming. When the year is been checking you again, cause you go up. We coming. We better than a big coming. They are meant to song. We coming. We better than.
My people, where you at? Where you at? Wake up from your slumber, stop sleeping. Whip your hands, whip your hands, whip your hands, whip your. Come on, come on, come on. I know you're sleeping now. Y'all gotta wake up some more, yeah? Okay, let's go. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They betray us so much. I said they lie. The people fool us, the people lie to us. The government betray us. They can lie, they can steal, they will not go. I said we tired with their lies. We tired with their promises that led us to a lot of damages. We tired with their speech they preach indeed, and now unique they deceive us. The thing we saw, it frustrates us. So why can't you lie? Why can't you steal? Why can't you allow the citizens to beat? You see, we just tell you. That's why we vote tell you. But you fool us, you screw us, you use us and later on abuse us. So why? The government should lie. Why? But that's the question that we ask. They lie. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They betray us so much. I said they lie. The people fool us, the people lie to us. The government betray us. They can lie, they can steal, they will not to corrupt. I said no one to trust. My people, no one to hope on. Nobody. My hope that I have been broken. I'm telling you, brother. So where are the schools? Where are the roads? Where are the jobs that they say they could afford? But they're too selfish. The people tired with their rhetoric. People tired, they tired. You see the reason why we ask why the government betray. They have enough of time, but yeah, then instead they delay. People suffer. No work for people crying for hunger. Look at. Your vision and your mission, your intention to the nation, they poor. You got nothing to show. Nothing. So why? The government should lie. Why? But that's the question that we ask. They lie. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They betray us so much. I said they lie. The people fool us, the people lie to us. The government betray us. They can lie, they can steal, they go knock the corrupt. With their promises that led us to a lot of damages. We tired with that speech they preach indeed, and now unique they deceive us. The thing we saw, it frustrates us. So why can't you lie? Why can't you steal? Why can't you allow the citizens to beat? You see, we just tell you. That's why we vote tell you. But you fool us. You screw us, you use us, and later on abuse us. So why? The government should lie. Why? But that's the question that we ask. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They betray us so much. I said they lie. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They can lie, they can steal, they will not cover us.
And the transparent and accountable management of our country's resources benefit of all Liberians. If not us, then who? And if not now, then when? If not us, then who? And if not now, then when? Liberia deserves better. Liberians deserve better.
All hail Liberia, hail. All hail Liberia, hail. This glorious land of liberty shall long be ours. Though new her name, great be her fame, and mighty be her powers. Though new her name, great be her fame, and mighty be her powers, and mighty be her powers, and mighty be her powers. In joy and gladness, with our hearts united, we shout the freedom of our rest benighted. Long live Liberia, happy land, a home of glorious liberty by God's command, a home of glorious liberty by God's command. God bless Liberia.
And so we say hello to you, our viewers, and to those of you listening to us. This is the program, The Bottom Line, and we come your way every Tuesday on this platform. My name is Linford Gore, along with Paul Chiropele there in the UK, and today is Independence Day, Liberia's Independence Day, as we call it, 2060. Paul, how are you on this day?
Well, Brother Linford, I would say happy 26th day to you and to our fellow Liberians. Happy Independence Day and happy 175 years old. I am doing great. How is Norway?
Norway is doing great. We've had wonderful weather and it's been mixed. A few days ago, it was extremely hot. I was going mountain climbing. And then all of a sudden, yesterday, it was rain, heavy rain somewhere, and some places no rain. And today, the weather was great. And so let me say I'm happy also for this Independence Day. You know, it reminds us of the past of Liberia, where everybody looked up to two major days. If there was a third one, it was New Year, but the two major days we look up to was Christmas and July 26th. Those days, those 2 days, people will save their money to have jolly. And if they didn't have money, that was problem. But now things have changed. It has become like, yes, the national anthem for that has been like, no money. So the July 26th and even Christmas, I think, have changed a lot compared to you and I when we experience it growing up.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And that's I think for us that saw that beautiful Mama Liberia, we can reflect on those days. And for those who have seen the dark side of Liberia, may not understand. So is today we're 175 years old. Not many countries in the world have reached that age.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say it's time that we all Liberians sit and reflect what have we achieved in that 175 years. Once upon a time, Liberia was the little America. Today is the laughing country. What have we done? How did it go wrong? And is there any possibility that Liberia can return to the glorious days? It's something that we all need to sit and reflect and think about what kind of Liberia do we want. Today, I spoke to a lot of people in Monrovia, particularly not the entire country, but some people haven't had salary, and some people actually they were begging what they will eat today on the Independence Day in Liberia. That will be a bundles of food that children will go around from house to house. People will give them gifts and food. It's not happening. So, what kind of 175 years have we reached? And that is the question.
Yeah, and Paul, when you say that, then I come to also bring in this part of it, which is also a question. When we were growing up, or all little children, when they grow up, they always look up to the older people. We feel when you are small, you see that the older people, they are wise, they know everything, they got everything. Even if your father is poor, but you still feel that since he's old, you're depending on him. So Liberia, we fought for the independence of almost all the independent countries in Africa, and we championed their cause. We are even a founding member of the then OAU, okay, and for us to find ourselves the way we are, it said that we are we defying the normal rule that elderly people are wise, they should have things. I mean, why is it that our age does not correspond to what we have achieved?
Well, the thing is, I think it's combination of few things. And I would say the 1980s was not defined because everybody wanted change from the 70s to the until the coup. And after the coup, the civil war and the greed of people kick in. When greed kick in, is what you get. Nobody have come to say, look, let all Liberians sit and benefit from this mama life. But no, it's about self-greed. So if I get there, I want people to worship me. And everybody must call me the rich man in town. But have no mercy of the rest of the population. So greed actually took over.
Okay.
That's
And today being July 26th, Mr. Alexander B. Cummings, who is the standard bearer of the Alternative National Congress,
slash
spoke,
CPP.
CPP. He spoke to the nation. He addressed the nation, the people of Liberia. He reminded them of several things, of our origin, where we came from, how we became an independent nation, and our role in securing independence for the rest of Africa, and how many African countries looked up to us in the past as role models. They look up to us, but now they are looking down on us, wondering, those countries are wondering, how come those people that we look up to, and they even helped us to be where we are, how come they are even going backward, not chasing us or not even ahead of us? So we'll be hearing a little bit from some of what Mr. Cummings said today. It's lengthy, we cannot play all. We'll be hearing some things from him, but particularly Mr. Cummings asked a question, and we started the show with that. I will play that question again, and from there, we'll proceed with the rest of the speeches that or what Mr. Cummings said today. We'll be looking at it clip by clip. And so if you just joining us, we ask you to please help us to share the video, because we also going to have a guest, and our guest is going to come. We'll be discussing the prospect of the Liberian maritime sector. What prospects are there? What are the challenges? What can we Liberians do to benefit from that? So if by all means our guest appears, then we'll be discussing that. But for now, we'll be focusing on Mr. Cummings' address to the nation today. And this particular part of it, I want you to listen to it. He asked this very important question: if not us, then who? And if not us, then who? And if not now, then when?
Okay, before you put that, can I make this announcement?
Right.
This program is also aired on Borderline internet radio. So if you have something, you can display the internet radio. So it's aired actually online now. So people who, for some reason, they want to listen, they might also share and just click our link to follow us. It's also aired on our online radio. Just want to put that information out there.
Okay, thank you, Paul. And so we're going simultaneously on the radio. The Borderline radio is an online radio, so you can be anywhere as long as you have your cell phone. You can log on there, and then you begin to stream. And we are also on our Facebook page. The Borderline is Borderline Stroke Liberia, and then we are on YouTube, Borderline Liberia. So you can follow us everywhere. And so let's listen to this particular part of the speech where Mr. Cummings asked this question: if not us, then who? And if not now, then when?
And the transparent and accountable management of our country's resources to the benefit of all Liberians. If not us, then who? And if not now, then when? If not us, then who? And if not now, then when? Liberia deserves better.
Okay, this is the question, Paul. We're talking about developing Liberia. We're talking about changing Liberia. We're talking about bringing a Liberia where everybody can have a share in the nation's economy, where everybody, at least on a day like this, 26, everybody pack and be balling, like the boys say, my pack and ball. Instead of just few people spot balling, the rest of the people standing and watching or looking at it, or smelling the pot boiling or looking at the fire blazing on other people's part. Mr. Cummings is talking about changing the entire system. And some people feel that, no, it cannot happen now. So he's asking this question: if not us now, then who or when? I don't know where you get it from there.
Well, I think it's go back to what I was saying earlier, because when people are suffering from the Civil War, before the Civil War to now, things have gone extremely bad in Liberia. And so that going bad, the glorious days, are people are hoping, how do we get it back? If now, when, and how? We have had leaders that came in the past, they had the opportunity to change things around. For some reason, they refused. So now we have my good friend, the former footballer, President, the Excellency George Manuel Weah, who Liberians look up to be the one to turn the page. It's not happening. So that question is, who and how and why now? And most of us, our age group, will say we cannot see that better Liberia again, because leaders that come, they seem not to grab it. Why is it that they don't look after the people, but they look after themselves first? So that question he asking, are we going to be stuck in this position, or do we move forward in a new direction that everybody benefit? We remember the country Liberia The size Liberia is bigger than the population. The natural resources that country have is bigger than the population. So why is it handful of people enjoying it, the rest of the country suffer? Why now? Why we can't think about the future? This is the point. If you go to Liberia today, we have one of the youngest population in Liberia between the age of 1 year old to 35, 40. That's the group you see in majority. And we still can get it wrong. So if that group, the focus is on that group, Liberia have a better future. But our group, our age group, greed took over us. And we're not giving the young people that opportunity to enjoy that Mama Liberia. And that is the problem.
Okay. We'll be delving into Mr. Cummings' speech more to come. But I think we have our guest. I don't know, he's backstage. If he can hear us, we're going to bring him on. Good evening, good afternoon from your end, Cyrus.
Yeah, good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon.
Okay, great.
How you doing?
Look at your time first, huh?
Yeah, how you doing? Yeah, we move around. We move around a lot.
Yeah.
How are you, my friend?
I would say happy 26th day and happy 175 years old.
Yeah, happy 26th. My 26th on to you.
Sarah, I'll tell you something. Yeah, the children in Liberia, because things are hard, when you say you're 26 on, then they'll say, okay, I hear, but I'll go shower. I'll go bathe. The 26 will move.
You go watch it. Wow, well, good to be back, man. Good to see you guys. In spite of all the challenges, all over Liberia here globally, here in Houston, it's hot like Copa Sea.
I know.
But it is what it is.
Yeah. So we let us say welcome again. And Sarah is not new to this platform. Sarah has been here before, and he promised that he will always come when we call upon him. And so today we'll be discussing the maritime sector with Cyrus. And Cyrus will introduce himself with respect to his affiliation and association with that particular sector when we get to him. But Cyrus, right now we all know that today was July 26th, and this is a day that during you, me, and Paul's days when we were coming, there were two major days. Maybe the third one was New Year, right? But the two major days are Christmas, and after July 26th, now the next one we're looking at that Christmas, people start saving the rooster, then people feeding it every day so they can grow fat. Probably the woman and dropping alcohol in the cash box, and then since I live on the Papa, Ken Johnson Road was the highlight that particular weekend or the day before the Christmas. No selling, no traffic, nothing, the whole place black. But it has changed. And so here we find ourselves. And Mr. Cummings is talking about change, bringing change so that Liberia, even if it is not what it used to be pre-war days, it can be a better place. Okay. But he asked this question. There are people resisting this change that he wants to bring. Then he asked this question: if not us now, then who or when?
A good question, though. I'm a little deep, because change is not easy under normal circumstances. But for change to even, and change is evolutionary. It's not a one day, one shot deal. But change happens under certain conditions. There has to be the condition that sustain change. So, I don't know. I mean, we all hope for things to be better in Liberia. We hope for the roads, the garbage to get off the road. We hope for people to get jobs, more factories. But I'm one who believes that no country is poor. Once a country has a sovereignty, that sovereignty is a lot of value. And what we have in Liberia is we really don't have the right conditions yet for change. When we say change, change to what? What is our expectation? Look, Mr. Cummings is my friend, close friend. I think he's the best candidate we have to be president of Liberia. So, what do we look for in a candidate who may have a chance for 4 years to be president? Just go back 5 years ago. We had an administration for 12 years that we put a lot of confidence in. The international community did that too. And a lot of achievements were made, institutions were built, LACC, GAC, a lot of people started working, ghost payroll were being cleared, people were getting money on time. They were scaling down the civil service to create more jobs in the private sector. So people were very hopeful and we thought we were changing. 5 years in the new administration, it looked like everything that happened has gone away. And I'm saying this because change does not stand by itself. Change only obtained on a certain condition. One of the most important components of change is leadership and also is accountability. In where you have a system of impunity, then corruption, impropriety all find their place and they thrive. For you to change anything, you have to have systems. So no matter what Mr. Cummings say, I like it. It's a good message. The first thing we have to do is to see how we get the right team elected to run the country. Because if you do not have the leadership, for you talking about change is just shadow boxing. I mean, if you take a comedian and making the head of the airport, and you expect the airport to function well, and really the joke is really on you. If if you take somebody who doesn't know anything about managing ports, seaport, and making the head of the seaport, and then you expect the seaport to function well, then it's on you. It's not on that person. So when we're talking about change, it's really, I think these discussions should be held by those of us who claim that we have gotten the benefit of Western education. Is our country working for us? If it's not working, how do we make it better? I mean, you go to Liberia now and say, look, if the elections were to be held today, who will win? A lot of people would give you answers that you would be surprised. If you want change, at the same time, you are opting to elect people who do not have the ability to be able to deliver the change there, where you are just in on a base.
Okay. Having said that, I think we go into Mr. Cummings' speech. We will not cover the whole thing. We'll listen to some part of it and then probably discuss some of what we will hear, and then we can forge ahead. Sarah rightly said, change is difficult. Even Mr. Cummings himself alluded to that change is difficult. So let's listen to part of his speech.
My fellow Liberians, the 175th year of our nation's Declaration of Independence is upon us. I wish all Liberians everywhere a happy Independence Day celebration. On this historic occasion, I often try to imagine what declaring independence also meant for the founding fathers and mothers, what it should continue to mean for us today, and what it must mean for our children tomorrow. The circumstances surrounding Liberia's Declaration of Independence were challenging. I imagine that some of our founding fathers and mothers were mostly unsure and afraid of the future, as they were distrusting of each other. I imagine some argued against declaring Liberia a free and independent nation and wanted to simply go back to the security and comforts of what they knew and had become used to. And yet, the bold declaration of Liberia's independence have taught us that we never move forward by going backward. I also imagine that some may have been concerned that freedom and independence would come with the additional responsibility to govern, which many believe themselves to be unready for. Some likely imagined that the duty to lead themselves, make peace with neighbors while contributing to the peace and security of the world, and to unite and provide equal opportunities to all citizens across the divisions and differences of tribes, ancestral origins, religions, political affiliations, and gender, would be too much for them to do as a free and independent nation. The truth is that we would not inherit an independent country today had the founding fathers and mothers given into their fears, distrust, and uncertainties. We would not have become the inspiration for freedom and independence many nations on the African continent and around the world saw us to be. And because they were able to look beyond their own concerns and boldly declare Liberia free and independent, we, all Liberians, have inherited a legacy of overcoming our fears, distrusts, and uncertainties. We too do not have to be defined by the challenges we face or the things that continue to keep our nation down, backward, and divided. The legacy of boldness and overcoming also places upon our collective shoulders a duty to be responsible for our own governance and management. The Declaration of Independence gives us a collective responsibility to unite ourselves and develop our country, to make peace with each other and with our neighbors, and to stand up proudly and be respected in the world, both by what we do and by how we do what we do. Over the course of our nation's journey, we have achieved many notable and historic firsts. Liberia is one of 4 African countries to be original signatories to the United Nations Charter in 1945, and one of 32 independent African states to sign the founding charter of the Organization of African Unity in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia in 1963. At the UN, we produced the first African woman to head its General Assembly. While on the African continent, we have contributed to the formation of many of its regional and continental governing and financial institutions, including producing the first woman to be democratically elected president. Despite all of these accomplishments and more, it is time to take a hard look at ourselves. Liberia is independent, but we are still not free. We have a rich country, but we are still too poor. We should be united, but we are still too divided. Our women and girls continue to be denied opportunities and have hurdles placed in the way of achieving their dreams. Our young people are still without the empowerment and opportunities they need to succeed. Our schools continue to fail our children. Our hospitals continue to be without much needed support and technology, so that Liberians are continuing to die from treatable illnesses. Our land is fertile, but we still cannot feed ourselves. 175 years later, the Liberian government is working best for its officials, while too many of our citizens are living under inhumane and unacceptable conditions. Those who once looked up to us from around the world for inspiration in the possibility of their own freedom and independence now look down on us, disbelieving where we still are as they forge ahead and leave us behind. 175 years later, we too must now summon the courage to change course. We simply cannot continue as we are doing. We too must be bold, not just for ourselves, but for our children and their children. We must
You muted.
Therefore, what happened?
I'm sorry for that interruption. Somebody just called me. I don't know how it hit.
That's all right.
Yeah. But okay, we've listened to enough of what Mr. Cummings said. He made a few points. I'm sure you guys got one or two things from some of what he said. But one thing he said that, or some of the things he said that I pick up is that we need to forge ahead instead of going backward. Because if we go backward, we are not going to achieve anything. That is, people who are thinking in the past that, we've been living this way all the time, and so we're supposed to continue living this way. It's not possible. I think I have to. I don't know how my phone is interfering with this thing, but let me off it. And so that's it. I don't know what the any of you get from there, and how can we discuss some of what you got from there, Paul?
Well, Linford, thank you. I think we spoke on it earlier before Cyrus came in. The fact is, we all know that there's serious hardship in Liberia. And what I said earlier is that our age group, our generation, we have taken over that country based on greed. So Liberia, and what Mr. Cummings is saying is exactly the point making. Why is it the country is so rich that handful of people in Liberia today enjoying the benefit of that country, the rest of the people are kind of struggling to get there. Bad decision, bad leadership, Cyrus alluded to it earlier. The kind of system that we have, the people who leading us, do not mean well for Liberia. And this is where we're heading. So I think as 175 years old, country that gave birth to a lot of countries in Africa cannot be in a position where Liberia is. It's about time that Liberia move forward. And that's the question for every Liberian to answer, look in the mirror, look at themselves. Why now? Why are we in the position? Why are we struggling? We are smart people on this planet Earth. If you go back to Mr. Cummings' speech, it tells you the first female, the Liberia was signature to the Charter of UN.
Yeah.
Liberia woman was the first to head, the Security Council.
The General
Assembly, everything we first in it. Even come to sports. Then why are we in a position that we are struggling? Why? That question for every Liberian to look in the mirror and ask themselves why. Why are we making wrong decision? Why we can't get it right? Cyrus?
I'm looking for something and I can't find it. But the why is not so hard to find. I mean, we all know the why. Look at our recent history, and I say this to say, surprisingly, most Liberian, I would say institutionalized Liberian. I say institutionalized, it means in Liberia today that there are a set of people who feel that they are the tip of the spear. They understand Liberia. They are the civil servants. They are the private sector people. They are the large percentage of these people are oblivion to Liberian history. And I could give some specific examples. So a young kid teaching at University of Liberia. In fact, that was long ago, just 4 weeks ago, I'm sitting in 19th Street. We always go, there's a place called Parliament. We go sit there, drink beer, and discuss current issues. And we are discussing current issues, and I'm trying to reflect on history to give some perspective to what was going on, because everything that's happening in Liberia today, we've seen it before. And one of the kids comes, he dressed up nice in his suit, probably got a job, big job in government. And, he said, but he stood up for a few seconds and he realized we were talking about historical issues. He said, but the people are there, why are you talking about olden time things? you know. And I gave some space to get his perspective. He said, we got serious thing happening right now, and the thing that the country will do, and you're talking about yesterday. And just in retrospect, it occurred to me, look at where we are. There's no way you can talk about today
without
in the
mentioning
future
tomorrow.
without we're all knowing where have we come from.
Yeah.
So there is a reason why we are where we are. Sadly, 5 years ago, we slowed down a little progress we were making, and we stepped back a little bit. Let me tell you guys something. This is not scientific, but I'm back here in Houston because I'm trying to put some time in finishing a second in a series of my books. And I've been asking myself, how did we get to elect president we have? Because whether we like to admit it or not, and I tell you, hey, I live in Liberia. Some of my best buddies are ministers, and that has not changed our relationship. We're really close, and they know my views. Right now, we have one of the worst set of leaders running the country across almost all our institutions. And I don't need to say it. In project management, they say it's just like Jesus and his disciples. When he told his disciples, when I go, false prophets will come. He says some will be so eloquent that they will deceive the elite. And the disciples got scared because most of them were just fishermen and carpenter and stuff. They say, what? If they would be so smart that they would deceive the smart people, then how will we know the false prophet? And all Jesus said to them, say you shall know them by their fruits.
Yeah.
That's a major element of management, no matter how you dress it. If you set certain goals and you give time for the performance of that goal, to see if the people have done the job or not, you just got to look at the outcome. If the outcome is not there and you are making yourself believe that they are really good at what they do, then where the joke on you? But the outcome tells the story. And let me go back to what I was saying. So we have this our brother who we all love, play football, and no Liberian that does not love Josh Weah. Politics or no politics. He becomes a famous footballer in the world. Comes back to Liberia. In fact, he kept our name on the global stage when the war was on.
That's right.
Everybody you run into around the world, when you say you're from Liberia, the next thing they will say, oh, George, we are country. And somewhere down the road, people want to make him president. He showed us every way that he was not able to do this work. He got elected to the Senate. He did not participate in any substantial thing at the Senate. In fact, most time, if you are writing, you are drawing something on the white paper. There are photos that people took with half of him. He didn't generate any bills. Nothing. Not his fault. Okay, he was being thrust into these roles that he didn't have the ability to play. Any human being, if you glorify them, they will assume it. The next thing is going to be president. Even the party he put together, they did well not to attract very, very smart people. If I listen to their motto, change for hope, have you processed that?
Just last week, I was talking about this thing. One could say we hope for change, meaning that we are hoping that change will come. But if you say you change for hope, so so,
but you're doing exactly that.
Yeah.
You put me there, then you can hope now.
You can hope now. I will change myself.
So in reality, Cyrus, the message is clear. Put me there, I'll look after myself first, and then you be hoping.
You can be hoping.
So every major poster, whether election time or they're having a big international conference that is put up in Monrovia, there will be basic mixed spells. Okay. So what I tell you is that you got people who are in charge of big stuff that are not supposed to be in charge of big stuff. And these are the people who are making decisions for your close to 5 million people in a country where all the institutions were literally destroyed. The education system bad, the entire logistics system bad, your electric grid was not functioning. And you with all these challenges you have, you got a guy who's president, nice guy, but he doesn't know the game. So he's more comfortable putting people who are just like him. So when somebody raised the issue, say, but this is the person who they're pointing here, what are credentials? The next thing you hear is over, our main president, what are credentials? As though that's the norm. Naked garbage has defeated us. We are not able to sustainably take away the garbage. The answer is just simple. You have capable people in Liberia, but they're not placing responsibilities, they're not giving the resources to function. And I've come to the conclusion why this is happening. I think we're still in our learning process. Everything comes back to impunity. In the next 2-3 months, when I put my book up, you will read that concept more detailed and more sociable and scientific. But our country was formed along Christian principles. Whether you're a Christian or you're not Christian in Liberia, if you look at the national documents, our emblems, our creed, our Declaration of Independence, it all commits the country to a Christian God. If you look at our African tradition, we believe in the afterlife. That's why when we open our bottle of Hennessy, the first thing we do, we pour small on the ground and say, to our Papa then who have gone before us. If you go into the indigenous villages, there's still ancestral worship. If there are major issues concerning the village, they will send the oracle to find out from the people who have died what we must do. We believe in that. Now, if we believe in that, and then we have participated, or at least existed around a time where a segment of the society was involved in heinous wrong to some of our people, where 200 plus persons lost their life under all kinds of circumstances. I'm not saying we should go run around, grab Prince Johnson or somebody and go kill them, no. But as a nation, the blood of people who have died is literally crying out there to the extent that we just can't get anything right. How hard is it for our leaders to call the nation's attention to the need for us to memorialize this ill that have happened in our country? Build a monument, set a day out, and remember these people who lost people. Let them come, give the name of the people, write it on the marble stuff, so that if it will rest their soul, they can come there every often and tell their brothers, look, what happened? Because guess what? If our belief is true, both African and Christian, that our forebears are sitting somewhere with the people who make the decision or whether rain will fall on you or blessing will come on you. Imagine when they get up in the morning and they look at God's face, what do you think they're asking God to do for us?
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
What do you think?
God got to intervene on their behalf.
They are telling God, the naked beating over water and for children.
Yeah.
Nothing really works. And I come back to our president. So our president, something happened in the 1980s. Linford, you're a journalist, so Chope, you probably will remember that. This same brother of ours, who didn't work to become president, the wave just pushed him to the presidency as though it was the tool, it was a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what happened in the 80s? I come back to impunity. This brother went to Cameroon to play. He played in Cameroon, a better soccer market. He got scouted by Arsene Wenger, and they negotiated a contract for him to go to AS Monaco. He went to AS Monaco, his first professional contract. Months later on, a controversy ensued in Liberia. He realized while in Monaco that, in fact, other players have come and they were talking about their signature fee that they received. And he didn't remember getting any signature fee. You remember that? On a door time?
Yeah.
It turns out that the Liberian ambassador to Cameroon, who was also doubling as his caretaker and manager who arranged all this deal, saw him and he went to Monaco and the signature fee left behind with him. And Samuel Doe came out and said, oh, let's just forget it, Guess what? I don't know what our signature fee was, whether it was $200,000 or $1 million, $3 million. But if Carlton Carpet, acting as a representative of the people, ambassador in Cameroon, took our signature fee and we didn't make him to pay for it, we own that debt. It looked like we're about paying for it right now.
But
let me get your thinking. I don't know how long we pay for it, but we pay for that signature fee.
Flow.
That is why accountability is important. Impunity has to be punished, because even though somebody did something and it was not held responsible, it doesn't mean that gap has been filled.
Yeah.
That vault is still there. Somebody's going to pay for it.
Yeah, Paul.
Yeah, I think Cyrus is right here. And if you put somebody somewhere that have not worked before in an entire life, and everybody gather behind that person and say, we're going to make you this way, you will not get nothing out of that person. So what does message that it giving us? If you took a little 19-year-old boy or girl from McDonald's as manager, they would better run that place than this guy that never worked before. It's just simple arithmetic. You put somebody in a position that have never done anything like that, what do you expect? And this is what we found ourselves.
So this brings me to an argument that is pending between one of the Unity Party supporters and I. This fellow is saying
I need to take a sip. Yeah.
This fellow is saying that working in government is the best requirement for anybody to become president, and citing GMB as an example. But I told him no. Especially government around the world, their operation is quite different from the corporate world. And then the first thing is government of Liberia, where the ministers go to work like 10 o'clock and leave 12 o'clock, where the president is not going to work. The current president does not go to work. He's making music all over the place, coaching. So, and if you are looking for a job, you have worked in government before, and then you come from the governmental sector, then you go to the corporate world with your CV. Okay, the people will question you, but how can you work in government? Why are you leaving from there to come to us? But if you come from the corporate world and go to government they might employ you very easily. The reason is, even Akinju factory, the guy in Liberia, I call it Akinju factory, the people that work there, they are more disciplined more than our government officials, because they go to work on time, They clock in on time, they leave on time. If they don't do it, their salaries will be deducted or they will get warning, they will get fired. But who can fire the minister if the president does not? And the president himself is doing even worse than the minister. So government job or having experience from the governmental sector and going to go run, especially you can't be in the same system for a very long time, then you want to go head the entire government. We don't see anything good.
So
But,
Linford, let me hold you there before Sarah's come in. The kids that were born in the UK here, the same way with Norway and in the States, at the age of 16, they get a social security number already.
oh yeah. Yeah, they are
Those
born with it.
kids, they start being whether the kitchen porter or they in some little factory or they are McDonald's doing something or Burger King. That is experience building up. So they leave from there, they go to school, they find their career. After their career, they get into that. If you go for an interview, the first thing the interviewer will ask you what the experience you bring on the table. So in the UK here, most of the government ministers, they are all come from private sector before they enter parliament. See, so that argument in Liberia, you must work in government before you run things. I think it's just a nonsensical argument. You have to have experience that you bring onto the table, and that is the truth. So, Sarah, you can flow on this because I don't understand why when people say government. Yeah.
So what is government really? So if you ask that question to most of the people who are making that, because that's what's happening in Liberia today. There's a major push by a camp to get unwavering support for VP Boakai to be president, as though it's an entitlement. So we're all considering the fact that he's old, he's probably failed. I really believe, honestly, that it's not the vice president who's pushing that. I think it's the people around him who's pushing that, because if he become president, their proximity to the presidency will be in their interest. So they can make all kinds of arguments. Some of the arguments is that, oh, the VP has the numbers. Well, a few weeks ago, the VP lifted the hand of Katapai in Lofa, and he lost. And he said, oh no, none of the VP number that Katapai's number, even though the VP, even though the VP lifted their hand. I really think that every time we have these arguments, we move away from the track. What do we need in our country to create the condition that will prosper everybody, especially the youth? There is no doubt that we need good leaders, people with specific education, people who can be held accountable. We need a system that can do that. If we need to get an education ministry that can revisit the national plan and set the pace for us to improve our education system that we say is down. We need people who are trained and experienced in education business. If we need somebody to regulate our commerce, to be Minister of Commerce, we need somebody who is trained in commerce, who got an MBA, who understand how businesses work. There are variables that are going on. You need somebody who understands how those things work. We're catching hell today in Liberia, not because we are poor. We're catching hell because we are not managing everything. We're not managing our name. We're not managing our resources. There are thousands of ways. There are certain Liberians that if you take and put into an area of their strength, within just months, you will start to see things turn around because they are trained and they understand what the issues are and how to address them. I'll give you one example. We got a big deal going on in Liberia now about the Liberian fisheries, the National Aquaculture and Fisheries Authority. Young girl, graduated from Maritime School. I did some 3 months consultancy for them, doing an assessment of the fishing pier in the port. You ask anybody in the government, is that's one of the best person. How is that? That's because the Japanese gave us some boats, engine to divide. The bottom line is that in 1979, one Liberian company, the Maserati group of companies, declared a net income of $49 million. $49 million after operational administrative costs, their net income. They had a fish on the shelves in New York, Tokyo, Paris. They processed the fish right in Liberia, put it in fillet, containerize it. That's the real value chain that we have. And guess what? We probably got more fish in our water now than we had then.
Yeah.
So you got enormous wealth sitting right in front of you. Sustainable, replenishable, more valuable than the Wologizi mountain. And you are really rejoicing over the Japanese made device of boat motor.
Hold on, Sarah. We got to see.
You know how much jobs you're talking about?
We got a discussion ahead of us, Sarah. Please, do not import our discussion.
Linfa, I like what Sarah is diving into, and that's where we're heading. And there's a good thing. Yeah, let's flow with that discussion because there is
one important thing Mr. Cummings said today that Sarah also touched. Sarah also touched it. That is, we commit ourselves to certain things in our own interest, forgetting the greater good. Now, Mr. Cummings talked about ending this loyalty to party and then strengthening our loyalty to the nation. Now, Sarah just mentioned that just a few seconds ago, but let me play that part and then we'll relate things that we're talking. Then from there, we'll flow into our main topic for today. So let me find that clip and let's hear how Mr. Cummings said it and how does it apply, to the current situation in Liberia where you got certain people, they belong to certain parties. So even if that party, like our ruling party friends, even if that party is damaging their economy, their own future, they stay committed to it, what they call party discipline. Whether they die, they will die with hunger, but still they will be committed. So let's analyze that and let's listen to it first, and then we can analyze that and move ahead.
175 years later, we too must now summon the courage to change course. We simply cannot continue as we are doing. We too must be bold, not just for ourselves, but for our children and their children. We must end loyalty to party and strengthen loyalty to country.
That's it right there. End loyalty to party and strengthen loyalty to country. How do we do that? If the party is the one that brought me to power, and that's the party I'm riding on to get all of my wealth, how can I end my loyalty to that particular party? Cyrus, if you were the one, how do you end your loyalty to such party?
So the first thing I will not be the best person to answer that question because I've never been a member of a political party. Not that I detest political parties. That's probably the reason why you see I'm not petitioned to be senator or all that kind of stuff. Because my mind, the way it works is that the country belongs to all of us. If you look at the Constitution, the whole idea of a party, an administration, is they are contesting ideas during the election so that the people can choose which idea they think is good to promote the general interest. So they elect the party that has the idea that they desire in an ideal situation. Because in our case, most times it's not idea, it's for individuals and maybe who put in more rights and money or popularity. But the very concept of our organic law is that the country belongs to all of us equally. The legal system should work for all of us equally. The resources should be managed in such a way that it provides opportunity for all of us. So because we subscribe to a plural democracy, at some point, we get to elect between those of our compatriots who want to lead. And if one group wins the election, we did not behest the country to them as their personal property. They have just been given a chance now to use the ideas that they say they have to see how the country can work for all of us. Now, during this period, the opposition party has a role. Even though it has now won, the opposition party weakness has always been that their focus is to be preparing for elections. No, the role of the opposition party during the tenure of another party is to hold that party accountable.
Checkmate them.
To keep on asking the hard questions. So why is it you guys are not doing this right? Why? Is because this party now has been given the trust to manage all of us business. We don't just go to sleep or say, okay, the other people should just get pulled for the time being and let all of us get rich. And in that context, it really doesn't matter whether you are a member of a party or not a member of a party. Because if any party wins the election, the preoccupation should not necessarily be to enrich your members at the expense of the country. The preoccupation should be to profit the country for the benefit of everybody. So inside the party, fine. If you got the best guy to manage this Ministry of Finance, then send him there. If you got the best guy to be a managing director of the port, send him there. But hold him accountable. If you don't have that guy, then you need to find another Liberian from somewhere because your primary responsibility is to provide for public good. So if you just die hard, you got to pull your guy there who ain't know nothing or who is inexperienced because we won the elections. You can do that too because our laws were written with some false assumption. It was written as though the people who were elected will always be able to make good judgment. So it did not give any qualification criteria to public officials. For example, to be president, all you have to be is 35-year-old, be natural born Liberian, I think have real property value of $25,000. And I mean, I could take it to my Oma hot that she left for me in Tabata. I can tell you that 200,000. What you would do? You can't do that. So it didn't require that that person has certain or demonstrate certain ability to govern or to lead, so as to ensure in the minimal way that if we pass our stuff to this guy here, at least he can move away. That's a major flaw in our system. So it get us trapped in thinking that, look, once the party take over, well, the time for the men and the ball. They think about it too. To every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So once you take over and you don't provide public good, within just short few years, you will create so much resentment that it will become almost impossible for you to get elected again, unless now you become repressive and try to undermine the very system that brought you into power.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've dealt into politics for a very long time now. So let's transform a little bit to the economy. Now, the economy of Liberia is basically, circling around certain things, certain activities, economic activities, because as we look at it, Liberia does not have factories. Okay, Liberia generates its taxes or its revenues for taxes, and very few companies that operate. And then we have this vast opportunity ahead of us, or that we are not making use of. Like Cyrus tried to, mention the fishery as one example. And so today we'll look at the maritime sector, not the entire sector, but we'll look at certain key areas in the maritime sector of Liberia. And one of the areas that I would left for us to look at, probably Cyrus, being a maritime specialist, will dive into that. And Cyrus, I want you to just tell our viewers a little bit about you, your maritime background and stuff like that.
So in the last few years, it's been easier to say I'm a supply chain guy. Right, but my first graduate degree was in maritime affairs. So I'm living in a hotel in Malmo, Sweden.
Yeah, you remember?
I think 12 o'clock midnight. The people call me to my room, say, "Look, there's a guy downstairs here who want to see you." So I said, "Who the guy?" They say, "Well, the guy got the same accent that you got, you know." So I come down and behold, live for a good. But I was fortunate, and that's the sad part about it. So I'm a International Maritime Organization fellow. What that means is that at some point in time, the IMO technical committee for Norway provided funding for me to go and get a graduate degree in maritime affairs with specialization in ship and port management. And there are many other Liberians who were given those opportunities with different countries paying. The government of Liberia didn't pay for me, but those countries pay for the government of Liberia to have me trained to go back to Liberia and work as an expert in the maritime sector. The logic is that because the Western countries are the owners of ships, so they emphasize training people from poor countries who are coastal states so that when their ships go to those countries, they can be sure they have good quality people managing the goings and comings of the vessel. So I was training Mimo. Unfortunately, I went back to Liberia. Nowhere because I was not part of the order. Today, it's better that I'm in opposition, but it's better now with the main guy who made sure guys else didn't get work. So a buddy of mine offered me to come to Chicago to work. And I've been working around the world since then. Fortunately, while in the States, I was also able to go to the University of Houston and get a graduate degree in technology project management for logistics. So that's all I've done for the last 20 some years. Logistics, movement of people in person and cargo.
That's good. And I hope we're not boring you guys down. And I knew Sarah was from Liberia in the 90s. And then all of a sudden I heard Sarah was going to Sweden to go to American school. And then I got opportunity to travel to Sweden. So I was like, Sarah's great. And Herbert, Christian, they all here. So I met this Liberian guy. He said, yeah, but the guys are at American college. So I managed to find Sarah, like he said. And Sarah said, my man, you can't be living on a refugee camp. Come move in my room here. So I was living at the American University campus. But and you see, it turned out magically for me. When I left Sweden, since I couldn't stay there, I came to Norway. I've decided to go to school to do journalism. And I went to this education fair and I met this professor from Oslo University. And he said, what you want to do? I want to do journalism. He said, oh, listen, where you come from? Liberia. I said, what? You come from Liberia and you want to do journalism? You do have that time to learn Norwegian from start to finish. So I would recommend you do something. I said, what? He gave me this little brochure. Say, you can do maritime. I said, what? The man spoiled my whole day. I left. I came home. I put that book down. It took me almost 2 weeks. So one evening, I came from work. I started looking at the book. Then I started learning. Because the man told me one thing, that your country, it was the first time I heard about the word open registry or ship and a flag of convenience. So when I started reading, I said, okay, I'll try. And then I entered the Maritime College in Oslo. And then 1 year, then they recruited us to go to Southampton. So I got my bachelor's in ship and port management like you too. And then I said, no. Yeah, I said, no, it's not enough.
You eating that corona.
It's not there yet. So I said, this is not enough to go compete with the Norwegian port. So let me stay and do my master's. So I did my master's in international maritime shipping and logistics. So we are just on the same page, you and I.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
But you got an edge. That is, you are being active in the area. But so we will be looking at certain things. One area I want us to focus on today, probably we might have some part of this show next time where we'll look at the other sectors of the maritime industry. You and I know that a bulk of the money that comes to Liberia from the maritime sector comes from the ship registry. And it is not a hidden fact that Liberia is the second largest registry in the world, open registry. Okay, and this company was established in 1948 to offer US-based ship owners a way of, duping their own country, the US, those tax restrictions and labor laws and whatever. So the company was established in 1948, right after the Second World War. And this country has been serving over 72 years now, and it's privately owned, actually. So for those of you that don't know that this LISCA that gave money to Maritime is a private American company, okay? But it's only administered by LISCA. And LISCA, it means the Liberia International Ship and Corporate Registry, okay? And it is the largest next to Panama, okay? And we are engaged. I'm only educating or trying to explain to most of our people who do not understand this thing from this concept, So we do open registry. That is, we don't have too much restriction on ships registering under our flag, because it's like we want to generate money, so we get open it. Okay, and you get your one road passing through your town, going to one city, but other people in the other time when the many cars will pass, so all the car you can park through my town and go. Whether your mid does, no problem. Once I get my small gift fee, and then this company is comprised of over 500 right now they operate over 5,000 vessels, and that will aggregate up to about 2 million tons, gross tons. Okay, and it's about that amounts to about 14% of the whole world seagoing fleet, the whole world. So Liberia, with me, we're sitting down on gold mine. Okay, and LISCA has about 28 global offices all around the world in the major maritime sectors. Okay, and it is the only country, it is the only company that has been able to train maritime officials or people in the maritime sector. They use their own money, up to about 450 professionals. Okay, and the agent for that particular company is what we so call RTC. That RTC Bank on Broad Street. Now it's called a LISCA Trust Company. Okay, and so the reason I'm giving you the background is that we hear the maritime sector in Liberia get money. The money we are getting from the maritime sector is not directly generated by us. It's just like you buy your taxi, you give it to somebody to run it, then the man give you small thing. That's what we're getting. So probably Cyrus will throw more light on it. But what I want us to look at here, Cyrus, is, along with Paul, is we're setting down on gold mine. We got, since 1948, the Americans have been operating this thing. It's a private company. Why is it that Liberia, until now, we cannot take over this company to run it ourselves? And we own our flag. Then we allow somebody to use our flag and then pay us what they want to pay us, what they can, the thing we deserve. It's impossible that we can run our own program.
Cyrus, before you come in, let me just throw something in there. Then you can highlight it. Link 4 is called innovation that is lacking. Somebody like Sarah who have earned himself that play. If you put him there now, it could be or different. Sarah did mention something about this Emma girl that studied in the UK. She did her internship at the Maritime office in the UK. The little knowledge she took from here, look, people are praising her over there. That's innovation that is lacking. So Cyrus, you can highlight what Lifa just asked.
So, Linfo, let me make a few disclaimers first. First, the last time I was invited to, last year, I was invited on a show like this. I think it's focused on Liberia. And I went back to Liberia and I was getting some feedback from some of my friends that I seemed to imply that I wanted the job for the Maritime Commissioner. So I want to say that no, I don't want a job. Secondly, I'm not implying that they are not doing a good job. They're doing whatever they believe is their job. So what I'm going to talk about is basically what I know in my experience and training about the Liberian registry, with now we attempt to bring down anybody. The other thing I'm going to say is the notion, and Linkford alluded to it, that the Liberian registry is substandard, and is by that question, open registry, they throw things there is faulty.
Mhm.
The Liberian registry is, in fact, one of the safest and best regulated shipping registry in the world.
In the world, yeah.
So you got to look at or else the ships will not be there, because what's the role of the registry? The real concerns that we have, sometimes we don't talk about it, right? The role a Liberian registry is first, IRR, International Registry Incorporated, was the first agent. What is basically is under international law, every ship above 500 deadweight ton has to have a flag. And the logic is that because this ship is trading most times in international waters or is calling ports in foreign country, might be carrying cargo. Recently, Evergreen put up the largest container vessel carrying 24,000 containers.
Oh,
So
have they overtaken Maersk?
Yeah.
Oh,
So you bet that container ship is carrying cargo for thousands of people of different nationalities. The ship is owned by maybe a corporation or a family, different from the ship owners. I mean, the crew on the ship. Crew on the ship could be from the Philippines, or from an Eastern European country, or from Liberia. So if there is a conflict or some dispute that need adjudication, it has always been for ages the question, how do you adjudicate this? Because this person will say, boy, according to my country law, I'm right. Other men say, I'm right. So it became a tradition from HO that the ship has a nationality. So that nationality of the ship supersedes everything that has to do with the ship. Anything that happens about that ship, you would deal with the laws of that country. Then the question of open and closed registry. Shipping is a very lucrative business. Most of the ship owners are Europeans. The Greeks have most of the commercial ships, even though they don't operate it, but traditionally they have owned ships. The Western countries traditionally, because shipping is high income, people who work there make a lot of money. The unions made sure that the government made laws that any ship that fly our flag, only our citizens will work on it, so that we retain that money. So that kind of concept became known as the closed registry. So if you're flying an American flag, which traditionally all American ships were under, it's a closed registry. Only Americans will work on that ship. The American captain could make more than $1 million a year. Then some innovative person came out way back and said, but suppose we get a flag of a poor country. Not because we'll be able to make the ship not to follow the rules, but because we are now forced to hire these expensive people in America and Europe who can hire an equally qualified crew from a poor country. And the crew cost on the ship is the second highest cost next to the bunker, next to fuel. So if you can reduce your cost of the crewmen on the ship, you become competitive, because the ships, most of them, especially the container ship, are liner, meaning they trade on a particular route. So if a ship is leaving the port of LA, Long Beach, to Shanghai, more than likely, if that ship is for Evergreen or for Hapag-Lloyd or for Maersk Line, the price for a 40-foot container would be almost the same, right? But if that ship is an American flagship, the labor cost may be really, really high. Whereas if that ship is registered in the open registry that does not restrict the people who can work on the ship, that ship may have a Filipino crew whose salary is about maybe 20% of the American crew. So even though they're taking in the same money, one ship is operating at a lower cost and the other is more competitive. So the open registry is more attractive for that purpose. And that is why the open registry has been the sword at the sharp edge of major international campaign to undermine it, because the open registry takes away money from the rich countries. So the American people could say, "But we own the ship. How come the owner took the ship, put Liberia flag on it, so they can go hire Filipino people, and we lose American jobs?" So it's not, the open registry is not a popular thing in the Western spheres, but it's a genius. The notion that, oh, it's a flag of convenience and this, that is the battle that the Westerners have fought against the open registry
The open
countries
registry.
for a long time.
Cyrus,
That's just
let me hold you there. If you could just talk to our viewers. If a country, okay, for example, Liberia, they use Liberia flag. So each of those ships, is there any room that they give percentage to X number of Liberians to work on a particular ship that carry Liberia flag?
So that question had been, I was 1999. I went to visit the Maritime in Liberia. I was staying at the Maritime School, and my late buddy Christian Herbert was still a commissioner there. So he was having a meeting with the Maritime, the Seamen Workers Union, and somebody asked that very question. Why is it, and rephrasing the question, why is it we got 5,000 ships flying the Liberian flag, and you hardly got Liberians working on these ships? So the best way to answer that question would be, first, let me get this out of the way. It's not a problem to get Liberians working there. There's certain things you have to do, right? But the general answer to that question would be, why did these people come and register in the Liberian flag instead of their American flag where the ship owner live? That because they want to hire a cheap, qualified crew, right?
Right.
Do you in Liberia have a cheap, qualified crew? You know where you can find a cheap, qualified crew? Country like the Philippines that made it their business to set up maritime schools, train their people. All the maritime people working on the ship got the same certification. They take the same test. So a Filipino captain is as good as a British captain. But because he's a Filipino captain, he's being offered to the ship owner for a fraction of the price that the British guy captain will take. But the only way the British ship owner can get a cheap crew, he has to move from the British flag to go into the open registry, because if he's in the British flag, by law, he can only hire a British captain.
Yeah.
You understand it? So if you ask me why Liberians are not on those ships, is because, like everything else we do, we have not taken our time to design a regiment for our youth and say, look, we package a crew, train them, send them captain, send them to train as pilots, send them to train as marine engineers, and we package them and offer them to the ship owners who are flying our flag. You know who the best person to do that are? Us, because we're sitting in the same room with them anyway.
okay. Just to add to what Sarah said, the reason why, you see, actually it should be an IMO convention. If the open registry companies push that you must have certain percentage of our citizens on your crew. But the thing is, like Sarah said, you don't have trained people. Like in Philippines, the Norwegians here, they open school there, they finance a school to train the boys. So automatically, you enter that school, you are the property of the Norwegian. The moment you graduate, they will take you and start to place you on jobs around the world. That's why we always have fun that every ship that sinks, one or two Filipinos will be among them. So they make it their business to train these young boys and girls, and it's a lucrative business. Okay, and Sarah, let's look at another thing.
But Linfo, I hope we get a few things clear if people are watching. First, the Liberian registry is not substandard. It's one of the highly recommended registry. The fact that Liberians are not working on those ships is not the fault of the ship owners.
So that brings us
you
back
can say in a way it's fault of the agent, because what the agent really is, the agent is a proxy state authority. The agent, Liberia, is the only country That was until 2000, because in 2000 you had another country, the Marshall Islands. It is before 2000, Liberia was the only country that took its state authority to regulate the ship and give it to a private company to be the government of Liberia. So in 1999, 98, because of the uncertainty about Liberia, this same company went and cut the same deal with Marshall Islands and took authority to manage the Marshall Islands flag, fearing that because Liberia was getting unpopular, the ships would leave. So they put some of the ships into the Marshall Islands. So the when we talk about the agent and we talk about the government of Liberia, think about them as the same thing.
Yeah, I think I touched it earlier on. And talking about the quality of the Liberian registry, I think they have 28 offices worldwide, and they are the only company that have trained over 451 professional nautical inspectors and qualified auditors. And the auditors for these ships, that's a particular training in maritime, because they have to make sure that the ship is up to standard, that the ship is not just running, like some Lesaros, you got a ship that is running and nobody can take account of it. No, the flare that they fly, they have to be accountable. And ships are like, let's say, women. The woman is born here, but she will go get married different place, and that's the flag that will be honored. So the moment the ship goes to that particular place under that particular flag, it is the responsibility of that country, okay, for that ship. In case of anything, that country will be the first one to consult. So I don't know what Sarah has done, but a few things that I want to look at.
No, go ahead.
Let's look at the opportunities that we have in the maritime sector, like we're just talking about, crew members. When I was in school, I remember the Indian boys, they were already working on the ship, the Indian and Filipino boys working on the ship already, and they just came to get some training. And they always used to joke me, say, but man, you get Chinese Liberians, you have Indian Liberians, you have Filipino, not Filipino, but all of crewmen. I said, what do you mean? They said they carry your national passport because they serve on the ships. You see it? So the job that our people should be doing, because we are not training them to be qualified to do that job. So other nationalities take those jobs. And so do we have the opportunity to actually step up? Can we make good on that opportunity, Saros?
Before Saros come in, I think Linford, you need to look at the viewer comment because they're interacting with us. So they are.
Yeah, I see some of the comments, but
so Sarah could address some of the things.
I mean, I can't see it. So if there are questions,
okay, I see. Okay, one of the comments.
We need to display it so we can.
One of the comments. I'm looking for the most important ones. Yeah.
So
everything is important.
Yeah, exactly. Some are just high. So high is high. Okay, Leros David say we lack innovation. Sadly, we live in poverty in the midst of plenty. Honestly, we need leaders that will give preference to private sector investment as our population is rapidly growing. This is very serious. Our leaders tend to ignore that. Government sector is being attached or attracted more, and this idea is now working for us as a people. We need a shift.
Good point.
Yeah. Okay, and then Gatume is asking whether we have total control over our registry. Do we have total control over our registry?
So we have as much control as we want. So think about this. The registry, the Liberian registry, is a proxy Liberian authority. So we took the responsibility that we have as a country and we gave it to a private company to do it for us. Now, most times when Liberians do that, we don't care. We just wait for whatever money they bring. So if we are not regulating this, our agents are paying attention enough for us to benefit from all the kudos that get into the industry, which in most cases, that's the case, then it is not at the fault of the agent. It is our fault. The first thing that we need to do is to be able to hire those of our citizens who are trained in maritime affairs to oversee these agents. These agents got 28 offices around the world. The other day, there was a conference in Greece, and the Commissioner of Maritime Affairs, who's my brother, Eugene, Fonati Kofa, Deputy Speaker, one of the qualified guy in maritime, Jan Bentor, probably I think a lady, one lawyer, Gray, they went to the meeting, fair, and they're standing there with the employees of Liska in Greece. So you got about 30 persons, all probably Greek people and American people. And the only Liberians that are among those people who are technically the government of Liberia, the Liberian registry, were those officials who came from Liberia. It really shouldn't be that way. We should have Liberian experts. So, for example, it's not that we need so much money for it. Look out, Guy Lamine. My entire training was paid for by the people of Norway. Many other Liberians' training were paid for by different countries. The Germans paid for many people, and not Liberia alone. Many people who went to the maritime school had the benefit of trainings paid for by other countries. So we can actually deploy our qualified people in the office of the agent around the world. If somebody was asking, why can't we take over the agency? Bad idea. We're way behind the curve. They're the ones who know the ship owners. They're the ones who've been dealing with them forever. That's why we lost our place as the first registry in 2000. Because we got into conflict with the first agent because they moved some of the ship to Marshall Islands, even though they were wrong. We didn't handle it properly. We created a new registry. They went ahead with their people to Marshall Islands. So we are the second, and our other half of the ship is the third in Marshall Islands. So if we have managed it properly, we will still be the largest registry. So to say, now the way the thing looking, let's just see if we can take our registry from the people, it's not going to happen. If we do that, probably we will not be a maritime registry anymore because we have not prepared ourselves for that. We don't control the assets. We don't even one of the issues that arose in the litigation between the government of Liberia and the last agent in 2000 was we hire a new agent, they sit in the office, but they didn't have control over the proprietary software that have the registry and all that. So we had to eventually take the case from court and pay that old agent, IRR, $70 million for them to give us the data in the computer for the new agent to be able to operate. So imagine if we go and tell Liska today, say, guess what? The maritime authority wanted what the registry were. I think that caribou we have, we got nothing. we don't have control.
We use our cell phone. Okay, let's look at this other comment. Klatume disagree, I think, in some sense. Klatume disagree in some sense with Sarah when Sarah said that the open register of Liberia is not substandard. He is saying that it is substandard in some sense. If it weren't so, we would have been involved in employing or hiring Liberians as our crew members. But just before Sarah addresses that, let me just let you know that it is not a business of Liberia, okay, to decide who works on the ships. It's the ship owners. It's the ship owners that decide actually that. But
and those are specialized jobs. You got to have people who are trained, not only trained, but they are licensed. So these people got license from the IMO. That license is renewed every year. They make it them. And the point I'm trying to make, because this is a big issue amongst Liberians here, Maritime, is why we're not working on the ship. Good question. The reason we're not working on the ship because we have not made an effort to work on the ship.
Yeah.
Because nobody's just going to come to West Point and say, guess what? How many people here want to get on the ship? Just basic baller on the ship.
Okay,
somebody who's working in the engine room. You have to be trained for it. And in fact, even higher now, the ship owners will even prefer a whole crew so that you will have a sense of jargon among yourself. In the event of emergency, if a Liberian man says shit, Liberian man will understand what's going on already. But if you stand for talking to Puerto guy and say shit, he will be looking at you saying whatever. So down to it, clear to me, the creation of the Maritime School in Marshall was a good idea, but you should be asking them, what are the products they are putting? Are they putting up products that meet the demand to be hired on the ship? Because if you just go, one time the Maritime School, 4 of the boys got drowned. Have you heard about that in the Maritime School before? The people who learning how to work in the water carrier. I mean, the quality of the training itself, that's what you should be even looking at. Never learn you work in the water, you get drowned. The first thing, you want to be a Marine, the first thing they have to teach you is how to survive in water. You say junior student in the Liberian Maritime School, they say water carry you. One of my own begin, Henry Bryant, he got drowned. He was one of those who got drowned there. So if we create the right regiment, it's not late.
Yeah.
And we set that plan on how we create that reservoir of maritime trained youthful Liberians. We got young kids schooling the sciences and the maths. Instead of just sending them out at random, say, oh, the other man went to Ghana Maritime Institute. We recruit 10 persons. We say, these people will train there as a crew. Another 10, another 10.
Yeah.
2 persons will learn how to be a ship pilot. 2, you do marine engineering. 2, you a navigator. And we stage them out. 7 years down the road, we have crews. We have crews. We are sitting with ship owners. We are the registry. We can call the ship owners council, and before then, 5 years before then, and say, guess what? We are starting this program to be able to feed Liberians on Liberian flag vessel. This is our training regimen. Do you guys have an idea of what we're missing and we can add? Can you even help to support the training of our Liberians? Those guys will be willing to do that because they're not losing anything. They're not going to be paying you more money than they pay in the Filipino. You just have to make yourself capable to work on the ship. It's not their job to come to Liberia and look around and say, well, how many people here we got Liberian flagship to come and work on it? No, they are businesses. So if we prepare our people, we have a good opportunity to put hundreds of Liberians to work. It's not going to happen just sitting there and saying, oh, how many Liberian people working on the ship? In fact, the very reason why they came to our flag is so that they can be able to find cheap, qualified crew to work on their ship. Why can't we make ourselves qualified so we can work on the ship?
Saros, and I want you to touch a little bit about the 1970s to the early 80s. The Maserado group of fishing company that generated so much money from Liberia. And we are blessed with all of those rivers and sea. We got a longer coast. How today a country that we are a back or we back, and we're sitting on gold dust with the sea and all of those river banks around Liberia. And look at the example where the Maserado Fishing Company said in the 70s, how can we revisit those sort of things to generate more money for that beautiful country?
So before 1980, the government and policy makers look at fishing as a business. Today, we don't look at fishing as a business, right? So we got a regulatory agency, broke out from the Ministry of Agriculture, called now NAFA, National
Fishery.
Aquaculture Fisheries Authority. In the real world, that group is just a regulator. They set the rules. They control the quota that you can catch, because you got to allow for certain ceilings so you don't deplete our fish stock. Tell you what size of the fish, what the size of the net, so you don't catch baby fish and all that. But we need to incentivize the private sector. Maserado Group of Companies was the largest fishing fleet in Africa. I think they had 31 fishing trawlers, not canoe. 31 fishing trawlers. If you go on the north side of the port, the North Breakwaters, they had their own ice factory. After you pass Coast Guard base, why do you need an ice factory? I mean, you're really turning around a whole lot of stuff that need to be preserved. Yeah. So they would go into the ocean. Their vessels would catch the different. I mean, they were known for what they call the Atlantic shrimps around the world. high value shrimps. They will bring their catch to the port and to their facility and process it, and then they will export it in ocean-going or refrigerated containers. So you imagine how many people get into work just in the fish processing plant alone. Hundreds of people. And also you got availability of real good value fish for people to buy, because these guys are going deep sea and they're bringing in the catch. Today in Liberia, you can hardly get a fresh sea fish in Kakata. I'm just trying to send a teaser out so we understand what opportunities we have. Why can you do that? Because this is a perishable goose. If you pull that fish out of the sea in this good quality crab, shrimp, lobster, you have to be able to have cold storage to process it, or ice making facility and coolers to be able to move it further in. Who tell you people in Yegepa and the concession don't want to eat tuna? But the best they can get are dry fish. So there are opportunities for developing cold storage. But first, for that to happen, the quantity of the catch has to increase significantly, right? So how do we do that? We need to encourage investment in the fishery. I credit Emma a little bit for it, because sometime, I think a year ago or so, she started to sit with big fishing countries to discuss the possibility of opening Liberian waters to some big companies, and the Liberian people came down hard on her. You want to get our fish to Senegal people? Guess what? That fish in the water there has no value unless we bring it to market. And we can safely bring it to market. We can regulate it properly. What you don't know in Liberia is that the European Union, European countries, the last I checked, 2018, when I did some 3 months work for NAFA, had 31 trawlers in Liberian waters fishing tuna. Let me tell you the downside of this. And it's like everything else we do. All we look for is tax. That's how we make money out of it. On the low side. These guys are chasing the tuna, and the tuna is migratory, right? So they're moving behind the tuna. So say they enter our water from Ivory Coast. We have about 360 miles of coastline, and we got 200 miles into the ocean by international law. It's called our exclusive economic zone. So we have something like 70,000 nautical miles of marine resources, more valuable than all the iron ore mine in Liberia, right? But if you what it says, if you don't sabi swim, don't go in the water. So these guys, the European trawlers, are using the European trawlers not in a negative way. Before they enter our waters, they send a catch plan. They express their intention to fish in our water to NAFA, and the NAFA required them to send a catch plan. What a catch plan is, basically, you send a table that put a different fish.
Are you looking for?
I'm going to be catching this quantity, this quantity, this quantity. If you name 3, then what you catching, but when you throw the net, you will catch other things. So they will put a bar catch, and they do an estimate of what they will catch. Then they look at the international market value of that species. For example, if it's tuna, maybe they come out and say, okay, 1 ton of tuna is $2,000. I'm just giving estimates. And then if they say they're going to be catching 50 tons, you multiply it by $2,000. That's the net value of the tuna they will catch. They do it down to all the fish. Whatever total they get, our rule is that they pay us 6% upfront before they start fishing. So they'll have to wire that 6% to the government. That's all they pay. When they pass through our water, they have to send another report to validate with a catch plan, whether they went over or they went under. I don't know if they went over, whether they pay the extra, or they went under, whether we pay them back. But whatever the case, that's all they do, and they pay us and they leave. But the real money in the fishery is in the processing of the fish, because even in that case where they get the fish plan, how do we know that the catch plan is saying us that really what they're catching?
Exactly.
No regulation.
So the law say, well, what you do, even though they're not calling you a port, you have the right to put an inspector on board the vessel. So that means we got to have a boat that will carry us to intercept the vessel, or we have to have a helicopter. I don't know whether we have it, but assuming we had it,
Yeah.
if you take a guy that make it $250 per month,
And saying
you put it on that ship, where the guy catching thousands of dollars, and he's supposed to sign that paper like man who I know at the end of the day.
the man sitting when they got there, the drinking.
You know that the first thing you want fish, the amount of feed the man game will be too much, but you don't want to fish. You probably will tell them that tell Western Union that money my mess arrow in Texas. Yeah.
I'll go for visit.
That's typical Liberia, right?
My point, the real value is NAFA coordinating with the Port Authority and with the government of Liberia giving up acreage, and we build a fishing port. I happen to go to Tema, to the fishing port. It's a whole industry. That fishing port in Tema regulate all the fishing, all the private vessels fish there. But because of the volume of fish that come, guess what? You got canning factory over there for tuna. You got canning factory for mackerel. They open this processing canning factory and exporting Ghanaian fish. We got more water than Ghana.
That's right.
So we can open a fish starting from one major, because the argument that the people we are licensing, like the European trawlers, will make is that, oh, you don't have a reception facility in Liberia as much as we want to come and process our fish there. So they go process the fish in San Pedro, and that value chain goes to the Ivorians.
Right.
Instead of coming.
The reason why I throw this in, because you see the Do River that we have, the tilapia that comes from the Do River, in the UK here, it's one of the most expensive fish, and we have it in a bundle in the Do River, just one river, and that is a gold dust that Liberia is sitting on. They will not utilizing it.
So you make my point. It almost sounds like the same question we're asking: why is it Liberian people not on the ship? The reason they're not on the ship because the checker will still play. The checker will still play to reach that king. We're not playing it. The same thing about our fisheries. We have the fish, but the fish will not come to us. And when they say fishing your water in an industrial way, they're not beginning to throw in a hook over there to get water to fish. We're talking about investment in significant way, but that is also regulated so that we do not deplete the fish stock. We fish in a way that the younger fish can grow, so that we always have fish, but we have significant amount of value in our marine resources that we can tap.
Time has become our enemy here, but there are two quick things I want us to talk about. I mean, I thought that we could either postpone it, but let's just play around it. Cyrus, let's forget about the fishery, but there is something you and I know in shipping, short sea shipping, which is very lucrative in Norway. Is one of the things that the ship owners here do. Then we also have cabotage, which gives that particular country the exclusive right to use its waterways. It could be air, it could be whatever. But since we are talking about the maritime sector, let's look at the waterway that we have. Do you think those could also, the short sea shipping and the cabotage could also be a way of generating more funds, even if we are not going to the fishery?
Short sea shipping.
Sarah, 1 second. You have to make it explicit to our viewers who are not.
I'll do that.
Okay, yes. So I'm throwing you like he was doing.
Short sea shipping is basically shipping short distances. For example, if we're shipping along our coast from Monrovia to Kipamos, is short sea shipping. But like, cutting all those short distances is short sea shipping. What I think we have an open opportunity for urban commuter transport. For example, in the middle of Monrovia, there, that water, you see that they Do River, they're going, Maserati River going around the Claratown, Oro. We could put water taxis over there. They're not pretty expensive. We could build terminals there, and water taxis are easier for you to come from this area to go in and out of the city. That's a low stuff. But short shipping, like all shippings follow the cargo. You know, in Liberia, we've been having instances where some loan investor will come on and say, "Oh, well, I put my ship down like a Ivanka that went under." Some Chinese guys came. I understand they built that ship somewhere in Marshall. I know they used hammer and nail. And but their idea was that they would put a small vessel along the Liberian coast that would trade from Monrovia to making those stops. We got more ports in Liberia than most countries on the continent. You remember that? In fact, we had even more. Roberts Post was a port. Edina was a port in our history before. The whole conflict around our independence happened at the port of Edina, where the British people seized our customs ship and all that. Imagine we had customs ship in 1847. Today, we don't have. But coastal shipping will require people who have cargo in economic quantities to move along the coast. That's what we suppose short sea shipping. What I ascribe to more, and you talk about it, is cabotage. But I'll move it beyond. Cabotage basically is an American law. And what that law says is that if you come to America as a foreign flag vessel, you cannot trade along the American coast.
Yeah.
You can move cargo from New York to Charleston, South Carolina, to Savannah, Georgia, to Jacksonville, Florida, to Miami. You can't do that. If you come, you're collecting international cargo, you just collect your international cargo and go leave the domestic trade for American local ships. That's cabotage, which is a good policy to enhance domestic resource mobilization. But there is a law, a United Nations law called the UNCTAD Code. In common terms, it's called the 40-40-20 rule. And what that law is that every coastal state has right over 40% of all cargo coming in the country, 40% of all cargo leaving the country. So the logic is that that country has the right to form a shipping line. And if they form a shipping line, they have capture cargo in 40% of the import and 40% of the export. I did some work on that before and proposed it to some people, but they didn't buy in. You as a country, that's why I said earlier, our most important resource is our sovereignty. The fact that we are a nation state. That's what gave us this right. Now, it's not likely that we can form a shipping line because the Nigerians did it, the Indians did it. It's highly opposed by the traditional shipping companies because they are entrenched already in the industry. But we are entitled to the cargo. So what will happen if by law we create a Liberian national shipping line? Maybe we get a budget of $500,000, a nice office downtown, and we sit with the ship owners, the agents, say, guess what? All the iron ore leaving Liberia, 40% of that load is supposed to go to our ship, the ship that we don't have. All the containers going out of Liberia, 40% of that trade will go to our ship, and vice versa. But we're not going to battle you. Say you're doing that job already, you go ahead and do it. Without increasing the freight, you would give us just 2% of what you charge people for carrying that 40%. So let me make it simple. If a 40-foot container from Liberia, I'm talking just one, going on a container vessel from Liberia to the US is $4,000, what is 2% of that amount? 10%. 10% is $400. So 2%.
800.
2%. No, 2% would probably be about $40. But guess what? Out of that $40, every 1,000 containers and 1,000 times $40. We ain't lifting our hand. We're just sitting on water and they're gauging you on our percentage, but we want to do it in a way that's not too difficult for you. What about iron ore? If you're paying people to carry 5,000 tons of iron ore out of Liberia every year, whatever you're paying them, that's $3 million. You see, you got to pay the Liberian shipping line 2% of 40% of that cargo, because that 40%, we also bring ship to carry it. So when we bring in ship, we just put in a small surcharge. You probably could be generating between $100 to $200 million every year just we're a small office of 10 or 15 persons leveraging a legal mechanism that is at your disposal to establish a shipping line and take title to 40% of your import, 40% of your export.
So Cyrus, you're right, and this is what I wanted to talk. So when Mr. Cummings said that he could take the budget to 1 billion, he is exactly, you can even focus on fishery alone, can take that money to that level.
I agree 100%.
You see, so we got plenty in abundance that we now utilize in Liberia.
Yeah, and the Cyrus, the question we asked, or we drew from Mr. Cummings' statement about the why. Cyrus said the why is not hard to find, but because we are not making efforts towards what we could do to bring in what we need. Imagine what we're discussing here. Some countries in the world are looking for small opportunity like this. We are not landlocked. Okay, there are countries in the world that are landlocked. They depend on their only source of income when it comes to transportation is 2 modes. That's air and land. But we got the 3 modes: air, land, and sea. Okay.
We don't look after our interest. The way we have organized ourselves politically and economically, it perpetuates our poverty. You know, my last long job, I was working with USAID, and I was managing well over $20 million of USAID support to the Ministry of Health for just the movement, procurement and movement of essential health commodities, malaria, HIV, AIDS, family planning, and overseeing warehouse system strengthening. If you put yourself in that system, everything is there to perfect the system. But the most common thing here in Liberia, no drug in the government hospital. The reason no drug there, because people who are supposed to get it there is not there. If I told you in 2020 that we were baffling at USAID over a situation where we had to burn millions of dollars in expired medicine that sat in the warehouse. Because once the medicine expires, we can't allow it to leave the warehouse. We couldn't even sell that to the US government, because how do you get back to Washington and say, oh, we need $3 million to burn the medicine? Just 2 years ago, we're running behind y'all to increase the money for the medicine. You listen to that, and the reason the medicine is not getting the way it need to get, people just not in a hurry to do what they need to do. Then we have a governance issue. It's not only on the very top level, it's at all leadership levels. It permeates. Nobody care. And even worse, where we are reliant on donor assistance because we don't see our effort in that free money that's coming. We don't care if it get wasted.
Well, Cyrus, you couldn't have said it well, and you know, frankly speaking, I've also learned some things tonight. Because
I'm not very hopeful, because I don't know whether we pay off President Weah his money yet. The one that got
no, that money will will pay. You know,
I think we pay off, because for some of those buildings that have been put up, I think that's part of that.
You know the interest.
You do know the interest. You do know the amount. That you're the interest we pay. So now the man want to go
We need to pay money. We need to put a package together for money. And sit down and say,
the money.
The money that can't cover area big, you just take it back.
Let me make a quick announcement, Sarah, for those of our viewers that follow, or if you can just hit the like button. For every time we come on, it will notify them, and you can even share our show. And this podcast is also being live on the Butterline Radio, online radio. So Linford, you can put that link also. And that radio station, the online radio is 24/7. And we got a lot of things there. On a Wednesday, I got a special session on the radio station. So it's ongoing.
Listen.
Yeah, people can follow. So
I think this is it.
Yeah, that's the online radio thing. we're in the process of developing an app, and this app will be shared all around so people can follow us on this. So at the moment, this program are being aired on the online radio at the moment while we're on this show.
Okay, Paul, thank you for that announcement. And another announcement. Next, I mean, this is not the last time Cyrus is here. We'll be going deeply into this transportation thing. We didn't finish with the maritime thing altogether, but the next
maritime. Well, so let me leave you with that. Just abuse to say all that notion on the Liberian registry is super registry. We're not getting.
Yeah, the point I was trying to make. The point I was trying to make is like, it was just an analogy. Like you got the two towns here, and the roads are passing, but the other town got Google building, and they make their gates so expensive. But the same car that can pass through that town can also pass through my little village. I said, okay, my man, Sunday post when I pass through that expensive town, you can pass to my side. Even though that the same car or the same trucks, you can pass. You pass, you get my late gate fee, you go. So that it was just an analogy. But because contextually, when people hear about open registry or flag of, as the traditional shippers try to make it look flag of convenience, they give that name to make it like, we get for convenience.
For good reason. So, but let me leave you with this. The most regulated ocean-going vessels are the product tankers. So you see these huge LVOCCs that carry crude oil or finished product. They are highly regulated because they're carrying dangerous cargo.
Yeah, the MDG.
It is the Liberian registry that has by far the largest number of those ships. So just to give you an idea, if our standard was not good, then we would not be the largest carrier of tankers.
MDGs. Okay, so next week, probably I think Sarah is going to help us to get that straightened up. There is a fellow, one Phillips, Arkina Phillips. We'll try to get him on. He's in the energy sector, so he will probably be here if all arrangements. Yeah, all arrangements are concluded. He will probably be.
Yeah, I will arrange it. I'll reach out to him. He works in the. You hear about shale gas in Texas, where they're cracking into the rock to get natural gas. It's one of the Liberians in the forefront of the shale gas industry. So he's a telecommunication and energy guy. He will be a good guest. So I will arrange it and I'll get to you long before that, so you guys can finalize it.
Okay.
It's always good talking about Liberia. Look, I mean, I wish we can jump over that bump. Our country is not poor. Our country, look, you look at the country, you see we got infrastructure deficit, but those are things that money can buy. If you have the right leadership, you can fix them.
And Cyrus, it was good to have you back again, because bottom line, in the process of broadcasting live in Liberia. So all of this good talk is about Mama Liberia. So we'd love to have you back on the show, and we need to really educate our people back home. So we would love to have you here. It's open to you. You're welcome anytime. This is where we are, friendly platform, and then we just look into the issue.
Okay, I appreciate it. I mean, anytime. Linfo, you know how to reach me. I'll be here in the States for a couple of months trying to finish my book, so you can reach me.
Well, when you finish, you can share a copy of your book with this platform.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we will. We will unveil our book. Okay, so folks, there you have it. This is the program, The Bottom Line, and tonight we've had with us Mr. Cyrus Play, a maritime personnel, and along with Paul Chudley and myself, and we've been discussing issues about Liberia, especially the opportunities that we have as a country. And so we want to say thank you to Cyrus.
Mr. Phillips, I have these guys from Europe with this program on the air. They want your commitment that you will be with them next week. Can I have a yes?
What day next week?
What day next week?
It's going to be next Tuesday. But
You thinking about the money?
no, but
Oh no, I'm asking them. I'm asking you what day next
He
week?
said next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. Okay, next Tuesday. Okay. I was down with
About 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
in the afternoon, yeah.
1 o'clock our Houston time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
So if you're cool, I will link you with link for so you can agree the talking points. Is that okay?
That will be fine. That will be fine. That will be fine.
Okay. Give me another 5 minutes. I will get to you, bro.
Great.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Saros. And you see,
Saros, before you go, there's few viewer comments I want Linford to pull it because you got guys are following us. Just look at the comment.
We can spare a few minutes. I don't mind if you want us to.
Okay,
to burn a few
okay. Let me
minutes,
see.
I'm
Let me
good.
see. Let me see what has come in here. Yeah, Tume is still not convinced because the last one he said, the last comment says that we are the cheapest and convenient, and that may not be that
You
our
can
standards.
display that, Linford.
Our standard is good. So he still feels that our registry is not.
I don't understand, but I mean, I think I made myself clear. I don't understand the argument, but what he can also do is there are international standard institutions. So go online and say which registry are the best standard registry. And I can promise you, my 401k, they will not call two registries while calling the Liberian flag. So if we got our bias, we should understand why are we not working on the ship, but that's not what make the ships standard or substandard. No, we are not working on the ship because we have not made an effort to participate in our industry in a meaningful way.
And he's talking something about the OP2 here, and he is saying that as per the open registry regulations, we are and should be entitled to that. I studied in Ghana at the Regional Maritime Institute in Tema. I got trained to OP2 approved standards, and I could see that most Ghanaian flag ships were leaving Ghana crew members.
We're having
having Ghanaian crew members.
So let me tell you something. If I 4 years ago, I had some friends in Equatorial Guinea. They invested in a ship, and the ship got caught in the Black Sea port. They had not paid some fees, and they were holding the ship. So a Liberian guy by the name of Champ Silontes, close to the family in Equatorial Guinea, called me and said, "Look, we got the money. We want to go up there and pay for this vessel, but we need a crew, a skeleton crew, captain, just maybe 2 mechanics to be able to bring the ship back to Malabo." So I spent about 2 weeks trying to get a crew, first starting the Liberia to see if we can get Liberian licensed crewmen to go and get this ship. By the end of the first week, in fact, Samuel Jackson, you see all the way on Facebook, you were talking with me, I mentioned it, and he opened doors with some Ghanaian crews. When I sent the word out in Ghana for Ghanaian crew, I received CVs for Ghanaian licensed crewmen from about 16 agencies. 16 Ghanaian agencies that are licensed to put Ghanaians on ships, not only Ghanaian ships. We hired the Ghanaian crews and they went to the Black Sea port in Baku and they brought that ship to Equatorial Guinea. I don't know what that brother is talking about, but crewing a vessel is also a business. You understand me? You have to in Liberia, you have to set up an agency where you have trained people and they got their licenses. It's just like even nursing. For example, in the United States, nurses are in high demand. You know what some countries do? Like when we have TNIMA, they will go to TNIMA and they will take nurses there and they put them through the rigors of the standard in the United States so they get that license. And they call hospitals in America and say, guess what? Every 6 weeks, I can give you 5 nurses. And they will pay for those. It's a business. You can't be sitting to your house or you say one man go to maritime school and you train and you get out of there and say, why is it I got approval for this certificate? I'm not on Liberian ship. The Liberian government has to create the avenue where crewing Liberian vessels is a business with clear procedures that people can be able to train crews and make them available to the ship owners. I want to repeat this. The ship owners are in the open registry because one of the main reasons is because they want to hire a cheaper, qualified crew. If they stay in the British registry or the German registry, they will not do that. In fact, some smart countries now, because they're losing ships in the registry, are opening a second registry and relaxing the rules and saying, look, you can hire some foreigners here, so you don't have to take the ship out of the German or so registry. So this is a major issue for the ship owner. So we can't walk to the ship owner as Liberia and say, look, we want for you to hire 500 Liberians. They'll tell you, say, oh, by all means, send their paperwork over to us. Do we have qualified Liberian crewmen? This is where we should be asking ourselves the question. Are we prepare ourselves like anything else?
I think Guy is just not probably getting that part. The thing here is that the restrictions are not that we cannot have crewmen, but are we trained enough? Do we have the facilities? I just told you about the Norwegians. They leave from here, go to Philippines. In fact, they open a school there. They sponsor that school. So the children that enter that school, the moment they graduate, they are properties of the Norwegian people in a way. And so it's a business. They take them and place them on ships. I remember when the very year I graduated, I came to Norway. I had this guy in my inbox every day calling me, asking me if I knew some of my classmates that he could get to and blah, blah, blah. And I recommended him. So after I think he got a couple of guys, what he wanted to do, and when he did it, even when I write him out, he didn't reply me. So the people are hunting.
He busy making money.
Yeah, making.
But let me just give a guy another example. In Liberia, and like in most African countries, you have the international NGOs, right? Mm-hmm. Including the USAID that I work for. I in USAID are activity manager for 2 IPs. What an IP is an implementing partner. So if they say, okay, we want to find somebody that will truck all the medicine or for the Ministry of Health from the warehouse in Codware to 700 facilities 4 times a year. They hire a company to do that. That's an IP. That IP, the one who will hire the trucks. The implementing partners, if you look among the UN, the major donors, more than 90% of the implementing partners in Liberia are foreign companies. Ghanaian companies, Nigerian companies. In cases where they are just consultants, they are foreign consultants. You know why? Same thing like the ship. If you don't make an effort, if the USAID got an accounting, auditing work to do, they send a bid out. You know who the people who get it most of the time? Price Waterhouse. Have you developed your accounting industry in a way that you got good competitive accounting firms? Maybe yes, maybe no, but it will show in if you are getting the deals. But nobody will say, oh, even though we get the money in Liberia, it must go to Liberian people. No, they're looking for the people who demonstrate that they are capable of doing the work that they want to pay for. It's the same thing with the ship owners. The ship owner has no obligation to put Liberian on the vessel. They can put anybody on the vessel who they feel meet their price and has the qualification to work. Yeah, so since they're in our flag, we are lucky that we're in the same room with them. If we have our qualified people, they will be the first to see it. They will be the first
to be employed. Sarah, this is the second part to that particular point, where we got 5,000 plus ships on our flag as we speak. Okay, how many of those ships on our flag that are calling at our ports? How many of them? Because our port is substandard. Things are not working the way.
No, that thing again, you thought I would talk. Not necessarily that I was. Why would a ship come to your port? You got how many containers coming to your port?
But I'm driving to that point.
How many computer you bring to Liberia? How
many ships will come?
You are a small economy. I express how many ships come to the free port per month. It's probably not reaching 50. In 5,000 ships, no way they can begin to come to Liberia.
Yeah, but okay, look at it this way too. Here is a port that was not dressed for I don't know how many years. They have to make noise beyond the management before they would dress it. So you expecting a ship like you just talk about
same idea.
So if we can improve our system, Would you expect?
We're not benefit. If they say it is what the private economy say, they say that it small boy wash your hand, you will eat. You will eat with king.
Yeah.
You wash your hand, you want eat with king.
You want to get benefit? No. Look at our put. But no, listen, you know, it will continue when you're talking. So let me say thank you.
And not too hard to wash your hand.
Yeah.
No, the water is there.
You need to get the right people who are in the leadership role that will create the right conditions for us to benefit. We're talking about maritime. We're talking about fisheries. Those are just a small fraction of the opportunities that we have as a sovereign state. Look at our land. How much are we moving into value-added agricultural activities in our land? Have you traveled around Liberia? My man, when I was working with the international organization, I traveled the whole country. When you see some of the rivers that we have, they got rivers all over the country. I mean, it tried to convince me why we have not been able to build a road to the southeast, because for us to build some of the bridges, my man, it will not be for children. But the water formations that we have, we should be supplying water pipeline from Liberia all the way to the Sahara Desert and beyond.
My man, that's a topic for another day, because
tell him, man. You see, well, I can't. Nobody in the oil right now. So if I eat, I gotta wash the t-shirt, or I gotta clean it and put it in the dishwasher. If I do it, small girl will come, who is will be my daughter, and she will give me some and say, but that we ain't got no husband here, right? You know, look, the way if you sit down for nothing, you will get out.
You will get out for nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
We need to put our act together and stop complaining. Yeah. We need to figure out other people doing it. We say, go to Ghana and say, oh, look how the people fix. You know how many Ghanaian companies in Liberia get a contract there? Because they say we don't have the knowledge. The boy eating our lunch. That's why their roads are fixed. That's why they got nice buildings. Because they put in an effort in making themselves marketable so they can feed into the global economy. How are we doing it? We're not doing that. We just not complaining. Oh, we got ship 5,000 ship. We're not on board. They say, you really, you see what the girl I say, you better start swimming.
So that's what I keep saying. With lack of innovation in Liberia, simple thing that we can do and move that country to another level, and that's how I see it. And we have the knowledge. We have Liberia capable of doing it, but the right people have not given that opportunity to do it, to drive Liberia to another level, and that's what we're struggling.
I want to leave you guys with one question, though. The young research will be in the books on a while. This last few days, the legislature passed a bill granting dual citizenship, right? Mm-hmm. As though dual citizenship was illegal anyway, if you read the Constitution. But in that bill, they say that you can have another citizenship provided that you don't run to be legislature, or you can be president, or you can be minister of defense or finance and some position. I'm wondering who writing those kinds of bills, because just go to Article 18 of the Constitution and read what it says. It says every Liberian is entitled to equal opportunity to work with all regard to sex, creed, political affiliation, or origin. How is that law, that legislation going to pass the test of the Constitution if somebody take it to the Supreme Court? They're just wasting their effort. You can't create two citizens.
Thank you for that.
We'll come back to that.
The people who signed that thing.
Read Article 18 of the Constitution.
Well, the people who signed that thing, some of them are U.S. passport holder, Fanandikofa as well.
Holders as well.
So it just hypocrisy to the highest level.
But wait. The bill is before the president now, right?
Before the president.
But I think the president is asking himself, how can I sign?
Oh, Megan, the president get another passport too.
Yeah, so it will be.
But my point is, there is no dispute about Liberian citizenship. The Constitution is clear. The Constitution is not against dual citizenship. Look, there's a component of, I think it's 27, that says the citizenship by parentage. Say any person who at the time of their birth, either of their parents is a citizen of Liberia, is a citizen, unless at 21 they choose to take the citizenship of the country of their birth. You know what I'm saying? It applies to people who had their children outside Liberia. That child is a citizen of Liberia. That citizenship is behest to that child. The child didn't ask for it. So at 21, the law is a positive law. It says you got to give that child now the opportunity to determine if they want to be citizen or not. But to the extent that the Constitution allows for that person, that child, to be a citizen while they're a citizen of another country for 21 years, that means the Constitution is not against dual citizenship.
Sarah,
you have a challenge.
Sarah, I want to say something quickly on something here. I'm gonna sue the Liberian embassy in the UK. There's a reason why I'm gonna sue them, and I'm gonna take them to the Supreme Court. My son, at the age of 2 years old, with a British passport, those people made me to get visa for my son. And then later on, I realized he didn't need no visa because he have 2 Liberian parents.
But he needed a visa.
No. The thing is, the child, listen to this though, that child have not reached the age of consent to determine which citizenship.
But who is a British? But he want to go to Liberia on a British passport.
He's going to Liberia.
You are going as a British citizen.
No, the reason why I'm saying that, Senator, they don't define that in one of his things that as that child with 2 Liberian parents with Liberian passport, they carry that, especially the mother carry the picture of that child. So I'm going to test the law in Liberia.
But that law has been tested. Did you go to the Liberian embassy in the UK and ask for traveling document for that child?
I asked. They charged me £80 for that child to go to Liberia. Yeah. So that
at the immigration guy now, I see you went there with a child passport and you say you're taking this guy to Liberia, right?
Yeah.
So you went to apply for a visa.
Yeah, and
so they had a right to make you pay for a visa because he was going to Liberia as a British passport as demonstrated by his passport. If you are going there and say, guess what? I need traveling document for my child, then they will figure out whether they can make a laissez-passer or something to give to you. If they say we cannot give you traveling document because this child is a British citizen, then that's a different thing because that has been dealt with already in the Supreme Court just about 2 years ago.
No, Sarah, before it was dealt with, this was a few years back. The fact is the child is 2 years old, and now when the embassy should have information provided to Liberians who didn't know the situation. So now I'm going to challenge this embassy in its very Supreme Court.
Let me ask you.
They say people who say that it's going to be on the ship, but they know what to do to get there. They say they have to explain to you about your British child that was licking ice cream in the embassy.
Let me give you one story. I had this uncle and his friend. The two of them, the guy agreed. They're very cantankerous. So 2 of them, before my uncle goes through, my uncle let love his name. He said, "I'll go through." Then his friend will ask him to explain the case. They say that to a power play. When I explain, a friend look and say, "Mama, you're not winning that case." He said, "Don't try." Then my uncle said, "Oh, so you are not relevant." He said, "You're not winning." So that's it here. That case, you can't win that case. The first thing, the child was he's 2 years old. He cannot make decisions. So the British government, no, you are mute. The British government is making a decision on his behalf. So why didn't you refuse a British passport for
Well, listen. The child is born in the UK of 2 Liberian parents. Granted, right?
Yeah.
The child don't have a Liberian passport until the child get to Liberia.
So you pay that first visa money, then you go Maria.
That visa money that the one I had to me because I'm going to realize I should have paid that visa money. So I need to
how you are going to travel? So you said the case with Jala.
So you got to test the water, my man.
The Supreme Court has ruled on that already. The case with Jala Tish, he went deliberately to the Liberian embassy in DC and said, "Look, I want traveling document to go to Liberia. They say, oh, you got an ID? So he took out a U.S. passport. So he said, oh, no, you're U.S. citizen. You're not Liberian. By the Alien Naturalization Law, that's chapter 22 called the Loss of Citizenship Clause. They say if you take out citizenship of any country or you serve in the military of another country without the explicit authority of the president, you lose your citizenship. So Jallo came to Liberia and sued the Liberian government for denying him his citizenship. And he used just one provision of the Constitution. There are many he could use. You know what he used? The article in the Constitution called the Due Process Clause. It says you cannot penalize any Liberian for any offense unless he has his day in court. So you cannot take away anybody's citizenship by default. You have to have a procedure by which that person will have the opportunity to defend himself. So on the basis of that, the Supreme Court ruled that that provision of the Alien Naturalization Law was in violation of the Constitution and it was null and void. In fact, the very next week, the Minister of Justice wrote a letter to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, letting him know that there were no restriction on Liberians, whether they took citizenship of another country or not. The Minister of Foreign Affairs himself sent a letter to these people in America who've been trying to push this citizenship law. I don't see the essence of that law. Now, even in writing the law, that is the same thing we're talking about. When people who take over this responsibility, who are not exhaustive, you write a law, say, okay, we'll give you dual citizenship, but you will not be president, you will not be this, that. Yeah, the very Constitution that our law is supposed to conform to in Article 18 said you cannot discriminate when you're dealing with work in Liberia for Liberian citizens. Everybody entitled to equal opportunity to work. So right at the doorstep, that law that you wrote is already in contravention of the Constitution if you rely on Article 18.
God to me is saying here that the president has affixed his signature to
But the president's signature will go in the trash because once that law is tested in the Supreme Court, it will be declared null and void.
My man, y'all gotta back me out here. I gotta get my 80-pound back off the
man. And I tell you, I told you the story about my uncle and his friend. Those two people, when they judge a case, if the president do not sue because you're not
don't go there. But that's some of the things we're talking about. Can you imagine people's legislators sit over there, we're paying them all that money, and they don't even use the benefit of do they have a professional staff, a legal team that they can throw this to say, look, this bill right in here tested in the Constitution, because Article 2 of the Constitution is clear. The Constitution is the organic law. Any law, treaty, ordinance that is found to be in contradiction is null and is void. It doesn't matter whether the president signed it or not. The president is not the Constitution of Liberia.
And the same contract between two groups cannot hold. It cannot suffice.
So let's close out the thing.
Yeah, but
my man, we had a good day, man. I enjoyed spending time with you guys.
Yeah, and we'll get back to you soon. In fact, I think just prepare yourself when Philip is coming. The two of you.
My man who say he graduated from Ghana school, you really want to get on those ships? You better go to one of those Ghana agencies and get in your paperwork.
I think the next show we will also we can have that interaction with him.
Yeah, guy, we'll try to get you.
Take it from behind the curtain.
Yeah.
That talker is still so I forgot to. So let me say thank you. Let me say thank you to the both of you. In fact, the night went so fast that we didn't know. And Saros, rest assured that we'll get you back. Probably you will be coming back with Phillips next week, and we can.
Man, you guys
to the energy team.
Thanks. Yeah, you guys, thanks as always, man. Thanks a lot. Have a great day out there in Europe.
Okay. Thanks, Saros, and see you soon. It was great having you. Okay, to our audience, this thing has been aired on our bottom line radio. It's live at the moment. So we're just asking all of you to kindly like our program. So when we come on, it's automatically notify you, and you can also share our link with your viewers. So on Linford, it was a great show. And I will say happy Independence Day to our viewer. Today is July 26th. Liberia is 175 years old. We owe enough to start doing a lot of things, and we're hoping for a better Liberia, to see that Liberia that some of us saw in the late 70s and early 80s. We're hoping that happened before the Almighty call us to rest one of these days. So we're hoping for that. Happy Independence Day to all Liberians.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul. And we wrap it up this way. Next week we're going to be here. In fact, Paul is going to be here on Saturday with the
on Saturday, I will be in Shelby with Jamal. So we might have a town hall meeting on Bottomland on Saturday. We'll be in Shelby. We'll be celebrating the July 26th in Shelby in the north of England. So we'll have a little town hall meeting. We'll make it more unique and have interaction with Liberians on Bottomland on Saturday. So
great.
Watch out and tune in on Saturday.
Okay. So next week we're going to have Mr. Akina Phillips. He's in the energy sector, and I think Saras is going to be here too, and we'll be going more into a lot of opportunities that Liberia has and that we can make use of. And thanks to God to me and the rest of the guys.
And God to me, get ready to join us on Tuesday as well. Saras will be here so you can have that interaction.
So, guys, still looking at this standard thing. But it was good. And let me say happy Independence Day to all of you. And Paul, I think the lady that sang the national anthem, I think she should take us home. What do you think?
I think so too.
I really love it.
Yeah.
Today is Independence Day, so here is the Liberian national anthem, and that's how we're going to be wrapping it up.
All hail Liberia, hail. All hail Liberia, hail. This glorious land of liberty shall long be ours. Though new her name, great be her fame, and mighty be her powers. Though new her name, great be her fame, and mighty be her powers, and mighty be her powers, and mighty be her powers. In joy and gladness, with our hearts united, we shout the freedom of our rest benighted.